The movie opens with Juan, a Cuban-born drug dealer, driving through a rundown neighborhood in Miami. His car rolls up to a group of young boys playing in the street. It's a setting that feels both alive with energy and tension. As Juan gets out of the car, he spots Chiron, a small, introverted boy being chased and bullied by a group of kids. Chiron, nicknamed Little by the bullies, eventually escapes and hides inside a boarded-up and dilapidated apartment complex. Juan, noticing the commotion, follows the boy and finds him huddled in a corner. Without speaking much, Juan approaches Chiron with a sense of empathy and compassion. After coaxing the scared boy out of the building, Juan brings Chiron to his home. In Juan's home, Teresa, Juan's girlfriend, warmly welcomes Chiron, offering him food and a place to stay. Chiron is extremely quiet and withdrawn, barely speaking, but it's clear he feels safer here than anywhere else. When asked about his home, Chiron says little but conveys a sense of loneliness and neglect. The next day, Juan takes Chiron back to his home where they meet his mother. Paula appears disheveled and anxious, though she thanks Juan for looking after her son. It quickly becomes apparent that Paula struggles with drug addiction and her relationship with Chiron is fractured and dysfunctional. Despite Paula's presence, Chiron begins spending more and more time with Juan and Teresa, finding in them the parental care and guidance he lacks at home. As Juan grows closer to Chiron, he teaches him valuable life lessons. In one poignant scene, they go to the beach and Juan teaches Chiron how to swim. The ocean, vast and calming, becomes a symbol of both freedom and fear as Chiron floats in Juan's arms, gaining a small sense of control in a world that seems so chaotic. This moment also serves as a metaphor for Chiron's emotional journey, learning to navigate the turbulent waters of his identity. However, Chiron's life at school remains difficult. He continues to face bullying, particularly from a boy named Terrell. Chiron's small size, quiet nature, and sensitive demeanor make him an easy target, but he remains stoic, internalizing much of the pain. As Chiron spends more time with Juan, he begins to feel safe enough to ask questions about his life. In one deeply impactful scene, Chiron asks Juan what the word faggot means, a term the boys at school call him. Juan explains that it's a hurtful word used to make gay people feel bad, and when Chiron asks if he's gay, Juan tells him it's something he'll have to figure out for himself. This moment captures the complexity of Chiron's burgeoning understanding of his sexual identity and Juan's supportive, yet imperfect, role as a surrogate father. The chapter ends on a painful note when Chiron realizes that Juan, despite his kindness, is part of the very system that has destroyed his mother. One night, Chiron confronts his mother in a devastating scene where she demands money from him to feed her drug addiction. Chiron later learns that it is Juan who has been supplying her. The betrayal is palpable, and Chiron's relationship with Juan is forever changed. Still, the love and care Juan and Teresa provided Chiron remain a pivotal part of his childhood. The second chapter, titled Chiron, opens several years later. Chiron is a lanky, introverted teenager still grappling with his identity and place in the world. The bullying has only intensified, particularly from Terrell, who now leads a group of boys that continually torment Chiron at school. Chiron has grown more withdrawn, and the emotional scars from his childhood are evident. He continues to live with his mother, Paula, whose drug addiction has worsened. Their relationship is fraught with tension, with Paula often emotionally abusing Chiron to fuel her own addiction. During this chapter, we see how deeply Chiron's isolation runs. He has no close friends and no adult figures he can turn to. However, he occasionally visits Teresa, who has become his sole source of comfort since Juan's passing. Teresa, kind and nurturing, offers Chiron a quiet sanctuary away from the chaos of his home life, though he still says very little. One night, while walking through the neighborhood, Chiron encounters his childhood friend Kevin on the beach. Kevin, charismatic and confident, is everything Chiron is not, but the two share a special connection that has lasted since they were children. As they sit together on the beach, they talk about their lives, their struggles, and their dreams. The conversation becomes deeply intimate, and the emotional tension between them finally gives way to a brief but tender sexual encounter. It's a moment of vulnerability for Chiron, one where he feels truly seen and accepted, if only for a fleeting instant. However, the next day at school, Chiron's fragile sense of peace is shattered. Terrell, noticing the closeness between Chiron and Kevin, goads Kevin into attacking Chiron as part of a cruel game to prove his masculinity. Kevin, pressured by his peers, reluctantly complies and violently beats Chiron while Terrell and the other boys watch. This betrayal leaves Chiron physically and emotionally broken, and he reaches a breaking point. In a rare moment of defiance, Chiron retaliates the next day by smashing a chair over Terrell's back during class. The act of violence lands Chiron in juvenile detention, but it also marks a significant turning point in his character. No longer willing to remain passive in the face of his pain, Chiron begins to take control of his destiny, though it's through an act of violence. The third chapter, Black, opens years later with Chiron having transformed into a hardened, muscular adult. He has adopted the nickname Black, the same one Kevin used to call him in high school. Now living in Atlanta, Chiron is deeply changed by his experiences. He's become a drug dealer, following in Juan's footsteps, and has built a tough, emotionally distant persona. His physical transformation is striking. He's no longer the small, timid boy from his childhood, but the emotional scars from his past remain. Chiron's life in Atlanta is solitary. He rarely speaks about his past, and any vulnerability he once had is buried deep beneath his imposing exterior. He maintains contact with his mother, Paula, who is now living in a drug treatment facility. In one emotionally charged scene, Chiron visits her and Paula expresses deep regret for the way she treated him, tearfully asking for his forgiveness. Though Chiron remains stoic, there's a sense of reconciliation as Paula admits her faults and Chiron begins to process the pain of his childhood. One day, Chiron receives an unexpected phone call from Kevin, who is living in Miami and working as a cook. The phone call stirs deep feelings in Chiron, and though he tries to maintain his tough exterior, it's clear that Kevin's voice brings back memories of the past. Kevin invites Chiron to visit him in Miami, and Chiron, despite his emotional walls, decides to make the trip. When Chiron arrives in Miami, the reunion between him and Kevin is filled with tension, unspoken feelings, and unresolved emotions. They meet at the diner where Kevin works, and over the course of their conversation, Kevin reveals that he has moved on from his troubled past and now leads a quieter life, content with his modest job and a young son. Chiron, on the other hand, is still grappling with his inner turmoil and the legacy of pain he's carried with him. In a moment of raw honesty, Chiron admits to Kevin that he has never been intimate with anyone else since their encounter on the beach years ago. This admission breaks through Chiron's hardened facade, revealing the vulnerable, longing boy that still resides within him. The film's final moments are quiet and contemplative. Kevin takes Chiron back to his apartment, and as they sit together, there's a sense of unresolved tension but also hope. The film ends with a shot of Chiron resting his head on Kevin's shoulder, symbolizing a moment of emotional connection and healing. The last image is a flashback to Chiron as a child, standing in the ocean, gazing out at the horizon, an image that speaks to both the pain of his past and the possibility of his future. Moonlight closes with no easy resolution, but it leaves the audience with a deep sense of empathy for Chiron's journey. It's a film about the complexities of identity, the impact of childhood trauma, and the ways in which love and connection can transcend even the deepest wounds. Through its 3 chapters, Moonlight paints a poignant and beautiful portrait of a life shaped by hardship, but not defined by it. If you enjoyed this video and want more recaps like these, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for more. Thank you for watching.